Hi, this is Michael from binarycafe.com with another Brainy Face Project video. This is the Sony DSC-HX400V camera, and I'll be doing a review of this camera. But first I wanted to say thank you to all of the subscribers and people who have been watching videos on Brainy Face Project. Can't believe how many people have been watching videos here on the channel, and I really had no idea. So I will be doing more. I'll have another one of the expert series videos coming out next weekend, so please stay tuned, and many more to follow after that. So I'm going to start doing more videos because it seems like people want to see them. So all right, here's one. This is the HX400V camera, and this is a bridge camera. This is a super zoom camera, so a bridge camera somewhere between a point and shoot and a full digital SLR, and it's got this super zoom lens that goes up to 50 times optical zoom. That's an equivalent of 1200 millimeters if you're looking at 35 millimeter. Basically, it's crazy zoom on a camera that cost way less than even a lens for digital SLR. And Sony's had a lot of versions of the HX cameras. They've had the HX100, 200, 300, and now the 400. Why would you want to buy this camera if you had one of the previous models? A couple things jump right out. I'll cover these in the video review momentarily here, but first thing is it's got a hot shoe mount. It's actually a multi-interface, an accessory mount here on the top of the camera. Sony's got some accessories that you can put on here, but also you can just use it if you have an external light or you have anything else that you want to put on top of the camera. It makes it easy. You've also got a new mode called DMF. This is direct manual focus. And instead of going to just manual focus and using the manual focus ring on the camera, you can use DMF, direct manual focus. So when you hold down the shutter button halfway, it'll beep, and you can then make fine-tune adjustments by using the manual focus ring. But the way that you do this is by using my favorite, absolute favorite feature on this camera now. Sony has added peaking. So what you can do is you can turn peaking on, and you can designate a color to highlight the in-focus regions in frame on the camera. So when you move the manual focus ring, you can actually see what's in focus. So this manual focus ring now is actually very, very useful, and it's so much more fun to use. So that mode, the peaking mode, makes it so worthwhile to upgrade. I absolutely love that feature. There's some other bells and whistles. There's actually a function button on the top of the camera, which makes it far easier to access menus that are inside the camera here, inside the settings, and you can go into creative modes. You've got different effects that you can apply. You can even apply some of those to video now. And a lot of the features on this camera are really, really buried, unfortunately. It looks like a great camera. Its form factor is, and it seems like at this price point it might be a very simple camera, and it can be, but it can also be a very powerful camera with lots of options in terms of setting white balance, in terms of doing bracketing, high dynamic range, all sorts of picture effects. It's got panorama modes. I love this camera. It's a really great price point, and this V designation means that it's got GPS again, so you've got global positioning system, and if you capture your picture and you're out hiking, it'll actually store your global positioning system information inside the picture itself so you can see where you were. So this is really cool. It's a great camera. Let's go ahead and start with an unboxing. Then I've got some picture samples and I've got some video samples, and we'll just basically let you take a look at some of the stuff that I shot with this camera. So as I mentioned, there have been a few different models in the HX line. Started with the HX1, then it went to the 100V, the 200V, and then the 300, where they dropped the GPS functionality on the camera, and now we've got the 400V. And the 400V and the 300 actually have 50x for the optical zoom, and what that basically means is that you've got an incredible zoom for the price of what is way less than the lens on a digital SLR. You've got a zoom that will allow you to get up to 1200 millimeter equivalent to 35 millimeter, and on the other end, in terms of wide angle, it'll actually do 24 millimeter. So if you're taking pictures of real estate or you do a lot of landscape photography, you've got a lot of capabilities here with this camera. Inside the box, you've got the standard stuff, a neck strap, and you got your battery, AC adapter. There's a lens cap that goes onto the 55mm thread at the front of the camera. You can also put on UV filters or other filters if you want. And one of the first things, as I mentioned, you're going to notice is the multi-interface shoe at the top of the camera. Sony does have some accessories, and you can put other things on top of the camera as well. And then you've got your standard array of buttons. You've got a finder monitor button toggle, and this one has more customization options. So if you hold up the camera to your eye, you've got an excellent viewfinder that you can use. The little clicker on the side of the barrel there for zoom, that's autofocus zoom. There's a direct manual focus and manual focus, and when you turn on that peaking feature, it's really fun to use the manual focus ring now. The screen tilts. It's a 3-inch LCD screen. It's got almost 1 million dots, and it's beautiful to look at. You can make adjustments if you're outdoors. You can change the brightness, but then again, you also have that viewfinder if you want to hold up the viewfinder to your eye. It does have wireless modes. You've got near-field communication for your Android phones and other devices, and then you've got Wi-Fi, so you can transfer files, movies, pictures, and stuff like that, even control the camera remotely. I love the grip. It's so great. The trigger grip, it feels really good. You can do one-handed operation by switching the button up at the top. You can move that dial. You can zoom in and out, press the movie button. Might be a reach for some of your fingers, but you do have the ability to operate the camera almost with one hand. On the left-hand side, you've got the pop-up flash and then a couple ports. You've got your micro USB and micro HDMI on the left-hand side. And as far as the battery goes, you've got NP-BX1 battery, same as the HX400, same as the RX100 Mark 1, 2, and 3. If you happen to have one of those, you can swap those batteries back and forth. So it doesn't have the most juice in the world, unfortunately, so you're probably going to have to buy an additional battery, maybe a couple of additional batteries. You do have to charge the battery. When it's inside the camera, they don't have an external charger. Of course, you can purchase an external charger, but it does not come with the camera. So you'd have to plug in the USB into the side, plug in the Type A connector, the big end of the USB, into the AC adapter, and then you can charge right from there. Once you got the battery charged up, you can drop that into the camera. Along with a memory card. This camera supports SD cards, SDHC cards, and SDXC. I'm popping in a 64 gigabyte card. It's an SDXC, and it's fast, and that's nice because this camera does support high definition video at 1920 by 1080 progressive, and you can actually do up to 60 frames per second. So beautiful, beautiful video on this camera, really great. They did add a button on the top of the camera, which is a function button. Very handy button. It allows you to go into some of the options like white balance, and you can choose your focus mode, and you can go into creative style effects and stuff like that. So I really like the addition of the function button. Look at this lens. This lens rocks. It actually does 24mm on up to 1200mm. So everything from wide angle to zoom is really incredible. As I mentioned, here's this peaking feature, and what you can do is if you put the camera into DMF or manual focus modes and you have peaking turned on, when you move that barrel, that manual focus ring, it actually highlights the object so you can see when it's in focus. So it's far more useful than the previous models with that manual focus ring. These are macro shots where I use that peaking feature and the manual focus, and it's so great because you can really hone in on the exact spots that you want to focus on. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got the wide angle. All the way on up to the zoom, so you can do macro shots or you can take pictures of the moon. It's absolutely incredible, and I have been carrying this camera with me to a lot of different places. I took it to the Georgia Aquarium and I had a lot of fun with the creative modes inside the camera. So you've got these illustration modes, you've got picture modes, where it looks like a drawn painting, and it's really fun when you're taking pictures if you have some time. And you can do a lot of this work in post-production, but it's also fun just to actually be there on the spot and to play around and get some of these artistic types of effects just by utilizing some of the internal features. The high dynamic range, you can see the difference there. There's a high dynamic range mode in the camera which takes the dark, the mid-range, and the light end of the exposure and turns that into one photograph so you can see the detail. And then you've got all sorts of different modes like the tilt feature, which makes things look like they're miniatures. You've got partial color mode. There are scenes where you can go in and choose sporting. You can choose snow, fireworks. You've got gourmet food, pet mode. There are a lot of different modes where you can go in. Low light modes, handheld twilight, and you can take pictures utilizing the different scene configurations. And this panorama mode, it does such a fantastic job. Even in low light situations, you can see that this very expansive, very wide photograph captures so much information, and it does a better job than panorama modes on other cameras. You might see some motion if you've got somebody walking or a car moving, but for the most part you can see that it does an excellent job. It does have the ability to do black and white in the panorama mode, and you can do standard, you can do wide, or you can even stand there and spin around in a huge circle. People will look at you funny, I guarantee it, if you're in public. They usually do, but more people are doing panoramas now. And this camera does a 360 degree, but you can also do vertical panoramas. So instead of going around in a circle or from left to right, you can go from down to up, and you can capture things like this roller coaster up into the beautiful blue sky, and it's really fun to use the panorama mode. Okay, this picture here, I was standing there and I took a picture of the bird house from pretty far away, and it was 50x optical zoom, then 100. Okay, there I just circled. You could see it looked like a hammock. Well, beyond that, then I did the marigolds, and that was 50x and 100x. Here we go. Standard picture here. This is 24mm. I had to circle this because you can barely see. There's a teeny dot. Guess what that is? That is a cardinal. This is 50x optical zoom, and that is 100x, which uses a clear digital zoom that Sony has added to the camera, and it's absolutely incredible to zoom in like this. Look at that. From very, very far away, it looked like a nice patio setting. Well, there's an antenna in the distance, and you can see that it's able to zoom in to the top of the antenna, and you can see that there was a bird on top. Now, as far as video goes, you've got the power of this magnificent zoom lens. You can zoom in on things that are so incredibly far away. I'm not kidding. You can't see any detail, and then all of a sudden you zoom in. Like, I'm calling this my backyard camera too, because when I sit out in the backyard, I almost always have this camera because I never know what's going to happen. Could be a bird flying in to range, or it could be, like in this case, a hot air balloon, which was off in the distance, but I was able to zoom in using the 50x optical zoom and get all of the beautiful color of the balloon. This is handheld, so it's a teeny bit shaky, but just think about how far in I'm zoomed, and the stabilization's really good. You can see the flame right there going up into the balloon, and as I zoom out, look, it becomes almost a dot in the sky. The zoom on this camera makes it worth buying just because it's fun. If nothing else, it's just fun to use. Now, you can zoom in on the moon, another handheld shot here, and zoomed in on what was nearly a full moon, and you can see the details, see the craters there, and it's pretty incredible to be able to get zoom like that on a camera with a fixed lens. If you take a camera to a place like an aquarium, here again at the Georgia Aquarium, you'll see people standing in front of the glass. There are signs all over the place that say, don't use flash photography, and they use it all the time, and they end up with these horrible pictures because the flash bounces off the glass. well, why not take this camera and just shoot video? And what you can do then is you can actually extract frames from the video if you want, if you don't need super high resolution. But the camera again has these wonderful modes that allow you to do artistic effects, and it also has a sensor which is the X-More-R, and that basically allows you to get way more detail. It's a backlit sensor, so even though it's a small sensor, it's a 1 2/3 inch sensor. It does actually do pretty well in low light situations. Just look at the detail being captured here in these aquariums. There's a jellyfish there, and running with high definition video. This is 1080p. So this is high def video running at 60 frames per second. Of course, YouTube, they're going to support 60 frames per second pretty soon, but this has been down res to 30 frames per second. And if you're shooting at 60 frames per second, another nice thing about that is you can slow down the video. Now, you don't have the ability to do the slow motion on the camera itself, but I've slowed down the 60 frames per second high def video here to get a slow motion effect here. And this is just by using the video shot on the camera and by slowing it down in video editing software. All right, check this out. If you use the function button on the camera, you can actually get in and use some of the creative modes, and you can do some different picture effects when you're shooting video. So you can do partial colors, you can do red, green, yellow. It's got retro filter, and this is just standard right out of the camera video. It's got the posterized color and also black and white to give it kind of that high contrast look, and then also sepia tone. Now, the camera itself has many different modes. It would take forever to detail them all, but it also has a burst mode, which allows you to go into what they call the drive mode of the camera and change it to capture frames. So check that out. Many different frames there to do basketball action. And it's great because if you carry this camera with you, if you're outdoors and you're outside in the wilderness, you're going to be able to zoom in on things that you wouldn't be able to see. If you're looking for a camera that's primarily going to be used for indoors, you may want to look at some smaller cameras. There are some great mirrorless cameras out now, like the Sony A7. You've also got the Panasonic GH4, which is an incredible camera. Maybe I'll get a chance to review that coming up. But also the RX100. Those are good alternatives. But if you're looking for an inexpensive camera that has a tremendous optical zoom at 50x, this is a really great camera. So thanks for watching. Take care.